Hi, everybody. It's Thursday's midday prayer, and I'm MiddayPrayer, and I'll be speaking with you today. I hope I don't make as big a mess as I did last week. I shall certainly try not to. But I'm using my own computer today, so hopefully that will be better. And I'm sorry, the light isn't very good. It's rather a dull day. Hopefully that's better. I've actually picked up a sample of a book by a lady by the name of Evelyn Underhill. I don't know if any of you have ever heard of her, but she is quite a prolific writer and quite well read. She was born in England in 1875, and both her parents were in the legal profession. She was educated at home, as I think was quite common, especially for girls in those days. But then, luckily, she was able to spend 3 years at a private school studying history and botany at King's College, Fulham, London. So she married a barrister in 1907, whom she had known her whole life. So that's basically a little bit of background on Evelyn. And this year, I'm thinking very strongly of using her for Advent, but we'll see more about that later. So she's entitled this passage, A Sense of Need. So I'll read it through to you, and then we'll go back and just have a look at what her message is. We should think of the whole power and splendor of God as always pressing in upon our small souls. In Him we live and move and have our being. But that power and splendor mostly reaches us in the homely and inconspicuous ways, in the sacraments, and in our prayers, joys, and sorrows, and in all opportunities of loving service. This means that one of the most important things in our prayer is the eagerness and the confidence with which we throw ourselves open to His perpetual coming. There should always be more waiting than striving in a Christian's prayer, and absolute dependence on the self-giving charity of God. As dew shall our God descend on us. So it's just a really short passage, but I think it says something really important. And Evelyn was a mystic, which I don't think I said in the beginning. And for mystics, the actual core of being a mystic is to experience God, not to hear about Him from other people, from pulpits and things like that, although that is a very important part of their lives, but also to know Him personally, to have a personal relationship with Him. And that they achieve through contemplative prayer, where they will spend time every day, sometimes the more passionate ones, more than once a day, in just quiet presence of God and listening to what He has to say. So that is just really one of the hallmarks of a mystic. So she says, I'll go back to the beginning, we should think of the whole power and splendor of God as always pressing in on our small souls. So what I hear there is that God is always not just with us or within us, but also saying, hey, I'm here, knocking on the door, saying, I'm here. Listen to what I have to say. I want to use you in the world. I want you to be my hands and feet in the world. I've chosen you to carry my message into the world. And this lovely passage from Scripture, sorry, I don't have the reference, but in him we live and move and have our being. In him we live and move and have our being. So our whole life, everything we do, every movement we make, everything that we are in our being is God. This is what I love about the mystics, is that we are so close to God. We get so close to God. What I like really about this passage, it comes next, because people think that the mystics are sort of these people who go off at a tangent and have these visions and these falling on the ground, or these sort of surreal supernatural experiences, and that somehow that is the core of the mystical being. But that couldn't be further from the truth. I've just done a study on Teresa of Avila, and she was gifted with visions and of real experiences with God. But if you read my book, excuse the advert, you'll see all how that fell into place. But that really isn't the normal way that God speaks to us in life. He speaks to us in just our ordinary living out of our lives, in our joys, in our sorrows, in our sadness. In our prayers, of course, in our prayers, he speaks to us, he comes to us. If we will just stop with all the words and just listen. We tend to be very much steeped in wordy prayers. And yes, intercessory prayer has to be wordy. We are requesting things from God. Mental prayer is a conversation with God, if you listen to what Teresa of Avila believes it is. But there must always be more ears than lips. We must always have more ears for God than words. And he comes to us in all the acts of service that we give in the world. I'll sometimes be going so busy with my life. I've got this deadline, that deadline. I've got to get things finished. I've got to do the shopping, do the washing, yada, 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 all these things. These superfluous, superficial things that we tend to just fill our lives with. And yet if we just have a break and spend it with God, it's so rich and it's so meaningful. Much more meaningful than bringing home a bag of potatoes. I'm often sitting in the early mornings in the quiet, and I wouldn't have really thought about what acts of service I might be wanting to do. I've forgotten about the people that I've meant to serve, so preoccupied with my own world. And God will just drop something into my mind. You haven't spoken to Mrs. So-and-so for quite a while. She's alone. She might be a little bit frightened with all that's going on. Maybe just give her a call. If I hadn't spent that quiet time with God, I wouldn't have heard that. I wouldn't have been able to be of service to God. Evelyn says this means that one of the most important things in our prayer, the most important things in our prayers, is the eagerness and confidence with which we throw ourselves into his perpetual coming. Now that's a strange phrase, that perpetual coming. But the sense that I get from what she's saying here is that the most important part about our prayers is that we constantly, with confidence, with eagerness, with passion, is to give ourselves to Christ so that he can come into us over and over again, so that if we lose him, because he lives in us, but we lose him. We lose him because we are distracted and preoccupied with the world. But if we do as she says, that we meet him with eagerness and confidence so that he can continually say to us, hey, I'm here. I'm coming to you again. I'm here. I'm always here. Don't forget me. And then listen, like I listened, like he spoke to me about that act of service. He's always there. He's always waiting. He's always wanting to speak with us, to build a relationship with us. And then I just love this closing sentence where she says, there should always be more waiting than striving in a Christian's prayers. You know, striving is a worldly thing. Striving is based on our egos. The word striving suggests that we want to be better. It might even suggest we want to be better than someone we know, even our best friend. We might want to be striving for worldly things, and that is not part of a Christian's journey. That is what Richard Rohr and James Finley and the likes of Cynthia Bourgeois will say, that's your false self. That's the self you made in the world, in your interaction with the world, and following slavishly to the way things are done in the world, so that you must strive to have a bigger car to be worth anything. You must strive to have clever children to be worth anything, and all those kinds of things. And God has no interest in that whatsoever, because he made us perfect. And from the moment we were born, he was in us. His divine DNA runs through us. And we were perfect. And then we went and grew up. And we forgot him. So she says, we must have an absolute dependence on the self-giving charity of God. Absolute dependence on the self-giving charity to God. And what that means to me is we don't have to strive where God is concerned. We can sit at his feet like Mary did and surrender to his will and his way, and he will be with us. We don't have to ask for anything. He will give us what we need. He will show us what he made us for if we take the time to understand ourselves in that quiet space as God's child. What is God? Who are we in God? And then that beautiful ending of as dew shall God descend on us. So there we are, standing outside in the early morning or in the evening, just standing. And suddenly we're aware of a dampness all around us. We're aware. We sense it through our sensations. We might feel that our hair's got a little bit damp. But when God descends into us, it's a silent, intangible, beautiful sensation. It's not noisy, like the things of the world. It doesn't matter who sees it and who doesn't. It descends on us like dew. May God bless you and keep you. May God make his face to shine upon you. And may you know his peace and his dew falling upon you. Much love to you all. Bye-bye.
In you we live, Jesus, in you we move, in you we breathe, Jesus, in you we love, and we are your body here, we are your body here. In you we live, Jesus, in you we move, in you we breathe, Jesus, in you we love, and we are your body here, we are your body here. Your touch our hands, your words our voice, your way our feet, your tears in our eyes, your spirit is here. You give, we share, you lead, we go, you send, we serve, you build and we grow. Your spirit is here. Across the world you're moving, the sound of prayer is growing stronger. From every tribe and nation joining in one salvation song, one song. In you we live, Jesus, in you we move, in you we breathe, Jesus, in you we love, and we are your body here, we are your body here. Your touch our hands, your words our voice, your way our feet, your tears in our eyes, your spirit is here. You give, we share, you lead, we go, you send, we serve, you build and we grow. Your spirit is here. Across the world you're moving, the sound of prayer is growing stronger. From every tribe and nation joining in one salvation song. You are the light that's calling, you are the hope transforming all things. Free salvation song.